Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a todos. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to a community dedicated to providing spiritual tools for living a happy and full life. My name is Karina Shearer, and I am the Spiritual Director and Founding Minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta. If you would like to join us for our live Zoom meeting, please connect with me to receive the link and the password. Today is Sunday, May 29th, 2022. And as you can see, we have moved into our new home and new location. So everything behind me is still yet to be unpacked. And the sign for the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta to be secured behind me in a visible fashion. So we are continuing with our annual theme, which is Living Everyday Wonder. And the topic for this month of May, which is emotions. The topic for today is low tide or high tide. So we open each week with a spiritual practice called Affirmative Prayer, also known as Spiritual Mind Treatment. This is a powerful tool and a practical tool that helps to shift our consciousness so that we are open and available to accept the good that is already present in our life. It aligns our thoughts with all good. So as we do each week, let's start with intention and do a reading from the Creative Thought magazine. Today, I'll be reading from May 29th, 2014. And just a reminder that spiritual mind treatment is always done in the first person. So I invite you to close your eyes and take these words as your own, if you so choose. I am a perfect idea in the mind of God. I am complete in every way. I behold the life of God within. I know that I am God's image and likeness. God sees me as its creation. I am enthusiastic about the divine self that I am. I see myself and know myself to be strong, radiant, healthy, happy, joyful, prosperous, and successful in everything I do. I know that I am in the flow and guided by infinite mind every step of the way. I have perfect self-confidence because I see myself as God sees me. Every part of me is centered in a perfect life. I accept myself as a whole creation of God. I am free of the negative world of false ideas about me. Lack and limitation do not exist in my world. I calmly rest in faith, knowing that I am loved unconditionally. I feel safe and secure and know that my future is assured. I give thanks to this inner divine self, the life of the Christ consciousness that expresses itself through me. Seeing myself as God sees me, I know that I am that I am. I release this to the law of mind, and so it is. And that was originally submitted by Reverend Aaron O'Donnell Stanley from Redondo Beach, California. And as we do each week as well, let's review together our purpose, vision, and mission statements. We have a grand purpose here each week, and that is to awaken and celebrate diversity and to love and serve our community. And we do this by means of our vision, which is to educate and support each other so we can create the life we desire that works for us right now. And we do this by means of our mission, which is to provide spiritual tools for personal growth and transformation. And so once again, I'd like to welcome everyone. Please know that we honor each and every path, guidance, religion, size, color, age, culture, It doesn't matter who you are. What is important is that you are here. So welcome. And here we teach a philosophy called the science of mind. It's a teaching based on new thought and ancient wisdom, offering spiritual tools and principles to promote personal growth. We've already experienced one of these tools with our opening spiritual mind treatment. And as I mentioned, we honor diversity in all aspects so that we can see and appreciate the great oneness that already exists everywhere and within everyone. I'd also like to mention that we are in the middle of Pride Week here in Puerto Vallarta. And it's important that we honor everyone and that we be proud of who we are and who our friends and family are as well. When Dr. Ernest Holmes founded this teaching in the 1920s, he had studied both Eastern and Western spiritual texts in order to create the science of mind, which focuses on the individual use of thoughts and this powerful thing called the mind. When asked to provide a concise definition of the science of mind teaching, he had replied that it is a correlation of laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and aspirations. So as I mentioned earlier, we are in a new space. And each week we offer this service with an inspirational message. And we are now meeting here at Calle Venezuela 232 on the rooftop. And hang out afterwards for some great conversation with like-minded people. If you have any questions or comments, you can post them here online, wherever you are watching the replay, or connect with me in person, or even send me an email, and I'll be sure to respond. So how do we move through the constant ebb and flow of life? Ride the waves and stay afloat. Well, hang on to your life jacket and let's get ready to go. Our emotions are amazing resources that help us to learn more about ourselves. And emotions can provide lots of great information. Our feelings and our emotions serve as a guide and a processing center for areas of reflection, exploration, and personal growth. And there's so many emotions to choose from on the emotional continuum. Being human, emotions are a default within our central response center. And sadness is a primary emotion that we feel at some point or another in life. Sadness can be mood altering and is triggered by a variety of other emotions and situations. Sadness can cause us to feel blue, to want to be alone, and to find comfort in our pity pot. The genre of blues music was created from the sense of sadness lived in that experience. Sadness is melancholy state that is common to embrace as a backdrop and undertone of life. When someone says they are sad, their heart hurts. A sense of gloom and doom lurks and looms. Someone who is sad can seem disinterested and melancholy, down in the dumps with despair. Grief or trauma can cause sadness and a sense of hopelessness that the circumstances will or can change for the better. Sadness can snowball into depression and become gripping and even crippling. We can feel frustrated that there is no end in sight and disappointed that things didn't turn out differently. Sadness can alter our mood and we live from that place of despair. The trio of guilt, blame, and shame are regularly partnered with sadness. The best cure for sadness is to allow the wave to wash over us and pass by. Surrender is the greatest practice in the midst of sadness. So try to find a space of love and compassion for ourselves and for others. Be gentle and easy when in that space of sadness, instead of berating ourselves for being sad, which can make us sadder and even angry. Be in that space of grace when experiencing sadness, even though it may feel ungraceful. Allow glimmers of hope and love to peek through and carry us to dry land. Cassandra had a favorite memory from her childhood of her and her dad going to a local music store every Friday evening to get new music to enjoy together. It was such a fun ritual that continued until she left home for college. When she came home to visit, sometimes she'd go back to that same music store for nostalgia and good memories. But on one of her visits, she found that the music store had closed down, given the move to digital and online music. Well, Cassandra was devastated and so sad. She couldn't believe that this treasured place in the community no longer existed. As she languished in her despair over this historic landmark now gone, she began reliving those fond memories of hearing new music with her father and gaining such a vast appreciation of so many different types of music. And then she found herself smiling, laughing, and even hearing some of the songs that she came to love because of those weekly outings with her dad and the quality time that they spent together. Before she knew it, her sadness had shifted because of those fond memories. By allowing herself to experience the grief and sadness, she was able to turn to a warm place within her spirit and transmute her sadness into gladness through love. Scott Aubrey said this: I am in touch with any sadness that may be resident in my heart. I have the courage to let myself feel it. So remember that trio that I spoke about earlier, the trio of guilt, blame, and shame? Well, they can emerge from the space of sadness. And this trio helps to justify the outcome of the emotion of sadness. When we feel guilt, it can make us sad. And when we are blaming ourselves, it can make us mad. Pardon me, it can make us sad. And when we feel shame, we feel sad. The trio detours into sadness and often comes together as a package deal. We feel guilt when we've done something that we regret. Reflection of the situation can lead to changed behavior and perhaps even an apology. We place blame when we're not willing to look at our part in the situation and take accountability for our actions. We feel shame when we've done or said something that can be considered inappropriate. The key is to be aware of these pitfalls and not allow them to stop our flow. Perhaps a pause in our flow is good for reflection and course corrections. In life, every moment has an opportunity for growth and change. Sometimes we just need to let the sting of the situation subside a bit and our bruised egos heal in order to find the lesson to learn and then move on. In the Four Agreements, Don Luis Miguel said this: all the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Our whole dream of hell is based on that. So there is a difference between sadness and depression. And there's healthy ways to deal with sadness. We all feel sad sometimes. Sadness is a normal emotion and almost always accompanies loss. For example, when we say goodbye to our loved ones, we usually feel pretty sad. The sadness is even deeper if a close relationship has ended or a loved one has passed. Sadness also helps us appreciate happiness. When our mood eventually changes from sadness to happiness, the sense of contrast adds to the enjoyment of the mood. Depression is much deeper. Unlike sadness, it is not universal. It's a serious medical illness that interferes with how a person thinks, feels, and acts, and it can cause persistent sadness. Those with depression often have hopelessness and an inability to experience happiness and pleasure, paired with physical symptoms such as changes in sleep, energy, appetite, and ability to concentrate or make healthy decisions. Gary Zubkov wrote this: if the musician becomes consumed with grief or rage or sadness, the instrument disintegrates. In some cases, a broken instrument can be repaired, but a repair at that level cannot cure what caused the breakdown. So if you are experiencing sadness or depression, please connect with someone that can point you in the correct direction and assistance for help. Grief can be gripping. When we experience grief, we often feel the situation is beyond and out of our control. With grief comes loss and an extreme sense of distress and sorrow. We often feel helpless and hopeless. There are a variety of things that can cause grief, like death or loss, or extreme sadness, as I mentioned earlier. Some people have acute sensitivities of empathy to others that can paralyze them. Some situations causing grief are so gripping that we simply have to cry or scream to get some relief. There are various stages of grief that can arise, such as shock and denial, pain, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. Being aware of these stages and that we can swing through any of them and even repeat some of them in the process of grief, knowing that is helpful in allowing the grief to allow the space for that grief to exist. So be gentle and tender with ourselves and one another through grief, as it is very critical. Being able to allow oneself to process through grief and not be consumed by grief and stop living is important to moving through it successfully. It is a process to move through grief, and it does take time. If you're wanting to have some assistance with the grief process, you can connect with me and see if there is a current or a up and coming grief session that I will be facilitating, as I am a certified grief facilitator. So please connect with me if you are experiencing a deep sense of grief. Sue Morter wrote this: if we can start to think of emotions as energies, as effects to anchor or expand, we won't be afraid of sadness. So it's okay to be sad occasionally, but it's also important to enjoy happiness and the good things in life. And love is a soothing balm. So just like a healing ointment can soothe a wound, love can be a soothing balm for sadness. Perhaps it's talking to a friend that will simply listen while we cry. Or perhaps it's a spouse or a loved one that simply holds us and rubs our back through heartache and pain. Perhaps it's a solo walk on the beach while silently listening to the sounds of the water soothing our soul, or a walk in the woods and letting the silence of nature and the caress of the trees nurture us back into wholeness. Sinking into a favorite piece of music or literature that has notes or words that bring to life how we're feeling in a meaningful way is also helpful. Perhaps it's emerging in an aromatic fragrance that heals and soothes the senses, or soaking in a hot tub or of salted water to remove the toxins and calm the body. Or it could be a combination of any of these things, applied with the focus on love, bringing peace to the soul. Whatever our application of love, allowing it to be a soothing balm for our internal sadness can bring ease and grace to the space of distress. Richard Rohr wrote this: inability or refusal to feel their deep sadness takes the form of aimless anger. To get to the bottom of their anger is to face the ocean of sadness underneath it. And Ernest Holmes would tell us, whatever needs to be healed must first be revealed. So in conclusion, sadness is common and a natural emotion that we all experience. The global health pandemic that claimed the lives of thousands of people, accompanied by other extreme social situations, is reason for sadness. And especially the current events that have been happening in the United States. The devastation caused to Mother Earth and the environment is also another reason for sadness. Situations in our own personal lives are fraught with reasons for sadness. And we can take all of these things into account and apply the love quotient as a soothing and healing balm. We can become more aware of the variations of sadness and how they operate and ride those waves of sadness, knowing that they will eventually pass. We can allow ourselves to feel the feelings that accompany sadness so that we can process through them, but not give up on life. We can allow the lessons that we learn from experiencing sadness to make our behaviors more productive for ourselves and others for healthier living. And we can embrace greater compassion given the personal and global situations of the world. There is so much that we can do as we navigate the space of sadness and allow it to turn to gladness as we move through it with love. And finally, in the words of the Dalai Lama, and Desmond Tutu. The way through the sadness and grief that comes from great loss is to use it as motivation and generate a deeper sense of purpose. And that brings us to our affirmation for today. My sadness is transformed to gladness through love. And so now is our time for giving back where we are being spiritually fed. Donations are greatly received through PayPal by going to our website, www.cslpv.org. Once you arrive on the landing page, there will be a donate button. And when you click on it, it takes you directly to your PayPal to make your donation in whichever manner you choose. Alternatively, if you still like to write paper checks, you can do so by addressing it to CSLPV, number 403, 2125 Birch Road, Kelowna, BC, V1Y8N1. And now if you'll join me in our Offertory Affirmations. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I do give eternal thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. So thank you for coming today, and please know that if you are in need of a one-on-one connection for spiritual mind treatment to assist you in emotions or change or whatever you are experiencing in life, please connect with me. And if you would like to commit to being a member of the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta for this current year, or if you would like to be on the board of trustees, please connect with me as well so that you can be sent the current form. And I'd also like to remind you to subscribe and like our YouTube channel and Facebook page. If you're interested in learning more about the science of mind teaching, we are currently offering the course, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, which is being held online. So connect with me and check out our website for further details. And let's continue practicing peace. We can each be a force for peace and nonviolence. Our words and our actions can create ripples of peace all around us and beyond. Peaceful living includes acting with compassion, kindness, and consideration. And it also includes standing up against injustice. May peace and love be with you. Thank you for coming and sharing this time together. Peace and blessings to all. Namaste.